across the country, the Republican machine is in overdrive. They're pouring tons of money and influence into battleground states. This, as so many of these races are neck and neck. Joining us now is political strategist Shermichael Singleton. He's with us. And just to get you into this conversation, Shermichael, you tweeted this, and I'm going to quote you. You said, "This isn't a dig against Stacey Abrams, but she doesn't have a snowball chance of winning in Georgia. And anyone who thinks otherwise is out of their mind." Explain it to us.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I was pretty fair and accurate in my assessment. And I have spoken with former colleagues and friends who are Democratic strategists and Republican strategists, and they all agree for various reasons. But there seems to be some parallel in the assessments that I have been giving. Partly it's because Stacey Abrams does not appeal to every single demo group that will be key for her to win. Now, we know Georgia can go blue. Joe Biden won the state. It's possible. But you need to be able to bring out black men. You got to be palatable with some suburban white women, with some suburban voters, generally speaking, with some moderate leaning Republican voters. Stacey Abrams does very poorly with those different demo groups. Couple that with the fact that Brian Kemp is a fairly popular governor in the state of Georgia. People like him, independent voters like him there. So I think he'll probably win by at least 7 to 10 percentage point margin.
Would you call that a landslide? I'm just asking.
Look, I think, I mean, that's a good question, right? Because I think Stacey Abrams is a brilliant, brilliant tactician. And if I were Democrats, I would at least ask her, I should say, if she could utilize those skills of bringing people together, registering people to vote at a national level. I don't think she will ever become governor of Georgia anytime soon. And maybe even if the state does become purple, some of her positions for the South just don't work. It is what it is.
Like, I'm just curious, like, what do you think in terms of policy is keeping her back, so to speak, according to your assessment?
I mean, look, I saw an interview she gave, I don't know if it was on Morning Joe, I believe, talking about the economy and abortion. And she made a statement. And when a friend of mine who's a Democrat sent me the clip, I was like, WTF? Like, what did she
say? What did she say, Shermichael?
Essentially saying that, and I'm paraphrasing here, so do not quote me on this, but she was essentially saying that abortion is tied directly to the economy and a woman's right to choose. And I understood intellectually what she was saying, but what it came off as, Eboni, is that she was saying, get an abortion if you're economically struggling because it will help you, essentially. And that's how it was interpreted by quite a few people. Even people who are Democrats are kind of like, oh, my God, was there not a better way to say this?
Whatever you think of Stacey Abrams generally, I do think she will continue to be challenged around elected office, around her intellectualism. Now, we can have a whole nother show around that, because personally, I think if you are highly, highly intellectual and you run as that, you're dead on arrival in American politics today. That's just what I believe. That said, that's a very interesting point. Now, I want to talk to you more broadly around Republicans as a party who have not done a great job, I think, by most efforts of separating themselves from President Trump. Now, on some cases, that works to their advantage. I think that will actually help the person running for the U.S. Senate seat in North Carolina against Sherry Beasley. But in some other races, say Pennsylvania, I think that's going to be costly to Republicans. How do you reconcile that?
I mean, look, Pennsylvania is an interesting state. Fetterman's performance in that debate was absolutely horrific. There's no way in the world that I would have advised a candidate who just went through a major health scare, knowing the limitations. And perception is reality. Again, perception is reality, folks, in politics. And so maybe some Democrats may not vote for Oz, but hell, they may say, you know what, I'm not confident about this guy. I think I'm going to sit this one out. Also, keep in mind, Eboni, Fetterman has some issues in his past as it pertains to issues of race. And I'm really surprised that, in my honest opinion, he hasn't been challenged enough by some mainstream outlets on holding an African-American gentleman at gunpoint, a jogger. I mean, some of those things should be discussed. Quite a few people have questioned them at the state level, but nationally, those things have been swept under the rug. So I think when you think about all of that dynamic, you think about his health dynamic, his performance at the debate, you're looking at a candidate that does not showcase the strength that people typically want to see out of a political leader.
I think you can argue that either way, though. I think some of those critiques around Fetterman are fair. I think those are fair as well. So I can say, but I could also see a blue collar or an industrial minded Pennsylvania voter feeling like Oz is a LA guy, a Hollywood guy, a coastal elite guy who doesn't even know what coast It's on. You saw the gap.
I mean, he has so many houses, Eboni. He doesn't know where
it's like he's like you, Shermichael. He's like you. It's so hard. Listen. I want to ask you what other races you're watching closely. Are you paying? I know you're watching them all, but what do you think about what's going on in Florida with Val Demings and Rubio?
Oh, okay. I am a huge fan of Val Demings. Val Demings, Eboni, reminds me so much of my grandmother. I think she's an incredible woman, a smart woman. I'm not a Democrat, but I would have liked to have seen the president choose her actually as his running mate. And, I know people are going to push back against me on this, but I think her profile should have risen. I don't think she's going to be able to beat Marco Rubio. I think she has a lot to offer to this country. I may not agree with her on every issue, but she is the type of a person, a Democrat, black woman, political leader in general. But I think despite where you may find yourself on the political spectrum, we can say, you know what, we're proud of a leader like Val Demings. And so I don't think she'll win, but I give her all the kudos in the world.
All right, that's fair. I do want to ask you before you go, Shermichael, most people are expecting this to be a red wave of some sort. The size we could debate, but people think Republicans are going to do well here tonight. What do you think Democrats need to learn from maybe how Republicans have shown up in a I can't even say post-Trump, but in the wake of Trump's defeat? What do you think Democrats can learn here?
I mean, look, Eboni, they've gone too freaking far. I mean, on some of these social issues, I talk to members of my own family who are as Democrat as they can freaking get. And I'm just using that as an example. And even many of them who are from the South, intelligent people, they have great careers, have done very well for themselves. Some of these positions, they say, this is crazy to me. I do not believe in some of this stuff. They're moving too far to the left. And I think Democrats are positioning themselves, and I hate to use this ridiculous term, woke, because it's such a right-leaning political phrase, Eboni. But the idea of embracing almost everything unguarded without any cultural standards at all, I think even rubs some Democrats, particularly older ones, the wrong way.
Shermichael Singleton, always a pleasure to have your perspective, bro.
Congratulations
Thanks for joining.
on the show, by the way.
Thank you, dear. Now, coming up, theGrio took questions straight from Black voters, and we discuss what is motivating you to go to the polls. Stay with us.